excellent question. Here's a slide. I get very frustrated myself. You think I could learn that lesson? You think I could stop putting the trouble in as the antagonist and I could figure out who the antagonist is to start with?
No.
I've come to the realization that that is my process. I have to do that step before I can figure out it's wrong. So I do my conflict lock and then I tweak the GMC for the characters. I don't feel like I'm locked into what I wrote as their GMC. I'll change their actions. Okay, then they're going to do this and this happens. And they're going to do that and that happens. For one of my books, I had basically two protagonists, and I had to pick one to be the protagonist and the one behind. And I actually did the conflict lock 6 different versions. One matchup of antagonist, protagonist. So I had 2 people who could be the antagonist, 2 people who could be the protagonist. I found out that basically it was very clear after I tried to work out all the combinations who was pushing who and who was going to learn the most. So, but tweak it. Don't feel locked into your goals, your action, your conflict. Tweak it. If you believe you've got the right characters in their places, then tweak it. Change the actions to make it more conflicting. And then, of course, always question those. If it's really not working, have you got the right character? So I'm not going to make you do that next exercise because it's just going to be a lot easier when you download the spreadsheet because you don't have to fill in the other boxes and you can play around with it a lot faster. But I have to do this every single time.
GMC is goal?
Goal, motivation, conflict.
Okay, motivation instead of action. Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of linked.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do the tighten your conflict and not the what we learn. We talk about story arc. So there's different kinds of story arcs. Mostly, I know I write escalation story arcs. So things get harder and more dire until you get to the point where you've got your deep dark moment where nothing seems to be working and everything is not gonna, like the world is gonna end. And then you get your climax and you come through it and you get your end. So the stakes get higher, the conflict gets stronger, stakes get higher. There's also string of pearls. String of pearls is an action happens, then an action happens, then an action happens, then an action happens. Action 2 does not rely on the outcome of action 1. Escalation, something happens, and because of that, something else happens. String of pearls is, it's kind of like challenges. You have to face all these challenges in order to get your goal. It's valid, it can be very boring for the reader, but you can make it feel like a really interesting story. So, trying to think, it's something like the 12 labors of Hercules is like you really have to complete these 12 things in order to get home. He doesn't get one because of the other necessarily. But just look at your story arc and say, okay, what am I writing here? Do I have consequences of the actions that inform the next action? Does it get more dire as I go higher? Again, for the plotters, you will kind of plot that out. For the pantsers, when you get to the end of your story, you'll go back and find those key points where the escalations happened or the string of pearls has happened. You have a deep dark moment. Favorite part of the story is when the hero or the protagonist is sitting there, everything has gone wrong and nothing, I cannot do what I'm, the outcome is the antagonist has won. And then something happens and they start to win. And they win and win and win and win, they get to the climax and then you've got the game on to the ending. Stakes and conflict. I touched on this a little bit before, is that the stakes have to be important to your characters. They don't always have to be world-challenging stakes. But a murder mystery that's written for kids will have probably less dire stakes than a murder mystery that's written for adults. It might not be murder, or it might not be like, it might be something else, but the stakes have to be important to the two characters. They have to think they're vitally 3-act structure is the one that I sort of follow. So did I do a, let's see if okay, 3-act structure, and I put it on the website. But it's basically, the first act is the inciting incident happens and the world changes, and then you leave that act when the protagonist takes on the task. Okay, it kind of models the hero's journey. In the second act, all of your challenges happen, and they get worse and worse and worse. You get the dark moment, and then you kind of get your climax going into the third act. But in the third act, you get a twist. My first Charity Deacon book, I got the twist as I wrote it. Even though I had plotted the whole thing out, I got to the end and went, oh. So everybody had been caught, but it wasn't done. I could tell it wasn't done, and I went, oh, because the person who I thought was the antagonist was not. It's this other person here, and they have to come back into the story. So you get a twist sometimes, so you get a false climax. And then everything is resolved and you get your baby. 3-act structure. That's the way it goes. So you can look it up on the internet. I just find it's like you look in your closet, it's the rack that you hang your hangers on for me. And my scenes are all hangers.
What if you have a messy closet?
Oh, then you're a pantser.
Okay.
So within the story arc, there's lots of climaxes.
Yeah. So in each scene, and again I'm touching now on the revision part of writing, but each scene is a little story in itself. So each scene models the arc every single time. So each scene will have an antagonist, protagonist. People have a goal, they will either get it or they won't. There'll be a conflict. And each scene builds on that until your story is written.
So is that just what you said, like the bare bones of a story?
There goes. Yeah. The stories I write. There's all kinds of structures. You can look them up on the internet. There's all kinds of groupings of standard characters. Like there's the 5-man band. There's like you just research them on the internet. Some of them may ring more true to you.
Just going back to this, I think probably I'll see it when I go to your website. Okay, but I would have preferred just to have an example, just a very clear example written down.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it would just be informative to me and a
Okay.
learning process to me in that I've never written a book.
Okay.
Okay, just at the very beginning.
Okay, so
And
maybe
just-
what I'll do is on that page, I'll put some links to some examples.
Just so you comprehend the idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be a book that I have read, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can be something made up, and you can very easily do it, I think, in 2 minutes.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what is interesting is you can learn a lot about story structure from reading scripts because they are bare bones. And pretty much every script that's ever written is available on the internet. You just
Like a script for a play.
like a movie script. Any movie, like you can just look up there and you can, because it's about 120 pages and it's got a very set structure and you can follow it through and see how the climax happens, how the stakes happen, when's the deep dark moment and things like that. So this is the secret. You're going to write your first draft, you're not going to perfect it. Get the idea in your head. Momentum is your friend. So I learned that with National Novel Writing Month. I did it in 2008 and I never looked back. So I tried to write my first draft in approximately 30 days. I write every day. I try to write 1,600 to 2,000 words a day. I've written 10,000 words in a day. It's not for me. I was exhausted and didn't write for 3 days. The reason momentum is your friend is because if you walk away from your story, you forget things. If you write every day, you just keep, you know what's happening in the story, you're living in the story. So you just write every day. You don't worry about how, like, here's what goes on in my head when I write today is, oh, that's stupid, that's trite, oh, you spelled that wrong. Shouldn't that be a comma, be a period? And all I do is say, yes, you're right, but I need to get this on the page so I can fix all those things you're talking about. And that side of my brain just goes, okay, fine, if you don't want to fight, I'm going away. It also helps you discover your plot and character to move quickly through your story and not worry about whether you've done it wrong. Because you're going to go back and fix all that stuff. surprised, after you've let the story rest for a bit and you go back, that it's not crap. I've actually looked at some of my first drafts, so I'm always writing, so I will write a first draft, then I'll start plotting something and write another first draft, and then immediately go back to the first one, and I go, oh, I wrote that? Wow, that's good. Oh, I remember to put this in here? Excellent. And it's like, because your mind, freeing your mind allows you to get that creativity on the page. We'll have a slide with like tips, but really just let it happen, don't question. Lots of people do go back and edit. So lots of people start their writing day as, I will read what I wrote yesterday and I will fix that, then I'll write forward. I find they write really, really slowly, and sometimes they never finish a book. There's so many people who they're perfecting a book for 10 years, and they never get it perfect. Okay.
Did you just say that you go from one project to another?
Yep.
And then you're fresher when you come back?
Yep.
Well, what do you think about that? Is that, I mean, I'm doing that right now, and I don't know
Yes.
whether it dilutes the being focused or whether it helps.
I can't draft two things at once.
So you're,
So,
you're
yeah.
doing an outline and.
Yeah, so I have this chart up on my wall, yes, I'm a author. And I have like the months laid out, what I'm drafting this month, what I'm revising, when I'm publishing. And so I've got this all laid out. So right now I am plotting the book with Cully in it, and I'm writing the third romance. Two different parts of my brain being utilized, and I always have one as a priority. If I can only do one, I'm going to draft. Because plotting is a lot faster than drafting. So I basically am constantly writing. The trick of, once you've written your first draft, is you have to get distance from it and try to read it as a reader. Right? So you can, some people wait 3 months. I find that if I work on something else, my mind gets engaged with the new thing, and I can go back much faster and look at what I've written with a keen eye. So I would always try something new, and if it doesn't work, that's fine, you learn something. If it does work, great.